Buenos dias. I'm Mr. Enright. I teach art here part-time. I'm an artist as well, and sometimes activist. And I appreciate what everybody has said, and thank you, Katie, for reading some excerpts from my favorite speech from Martin Luther King. I highly recommend that everyone read that speech in its entirety. It's easily findable on Google. It's 1967, Martin Luther King at the Riverside Church, his last major speech a year before he was assassinated 50 years ago this April. And there's a lot of gems in that speech, really. Katie read some of them, and basically he's talking about human rights at this point in his journey. He's remembered as a civil rights leader, but really civil rights is under the umbrella of human rights. And civil rights are usually understood as civic rights, like citizen rights, but I also understand them very literally, like civilized rights. And that's why Martin Luther King was interested in civil disobedience, which otherwise is known as nonviolent action. And in a way, linguistically, you can understand it as civil disobedience as opposed to uncivil disobedience. Uncivil as meaning violence. And this is an idea that he got from Mahatma Ghandi in India. Ghandi actually called it Satyagraha, which has often been translated as civil disobedience, but Ghandi himself translated it as soul force or love force, because Satya is truth and love, and agraha means to hold firmly to something. If you speak Spanish, you can see the root of the word agarrar. Agarra, to grab something, is agraha, right? To hold on, to hold firmly to convictions, to truth, to reality. To the reality that your human rights, that your civil rights are not being respected, that they're being violated. And for most of history, your human rights could be violated without any notion of human rights. I mean, human rights is a beautiful concept that maybe could show us a way towards peace. It's never been respected in any country, certainly not this one. It's something that we have to strive for. It's something we have to fight for. Right? It's only been 70 years since the United Nations adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Another document I highly recommend that you look up and read in its entirety. And it's pretty short, considering that it's a Universal Declaration of Human Rights for the whole world. It seems like it should be really long, but it's actually very, very concise in a way. And it's amazing that was adopted in 1948, just 1 year after Gandhi's Satyagraha led to the independence of India, right? 1948. I mean, and then there's a direct line from this. And before I go to the direct line, I'd like to say that all of the atrocities of history, including slavery and genocide, all of the terrible things that people have done to each other, basically necessitate a violation of human rights which did not even really exist at the time. So in a way, it's this new idea that you just can't do that to people. You can't just kill people. You can't just enslave people. You can't just oppress people. Okay? Martin Luther King picks it up here, direct line, and a lot of people think that his struggle for human rights is over. Not so. Obviously, we're in a very intense time of upheaval, and some would say moving backwards. I would say moving backwards in a hurry, almost like every day. And it's painful, but Max Romeo sings "One step forward, two step backward," a song I recommend you check out. But nowadays, there's a lot of confusion about this civil disobedience as opposed to uncivil disobedience. For example, the Take a Knee movement, which is part of the Black Lives Movement, some of you understand that Take a Knee started as a peaceful protest against police brutality, police harassment, and ultimately the police killing of unarmed black youth your age with impunity, hardly ever any consequences. Now the president has thrown a wrench into that and confusion into that by considering it a protest against the country, an anti-American, anti-militaristic thing, and people are confused. So I just want you to think about, in this day and age, people who are like, this is an inappropriate place for that kind of political action or something, like, what would you have thought maybe back in the civil rights movement at all of the inappropriate places where protests were going on, including lunch counters and buses? And this is important because it's about peace ultimately. Human rights are what can lead to peace. So I will end with a quote from Martin Luther King, which he said when he was arrested during the Montgomery bus boycotts for disturbing the peace. That was the charge, disturbing the peace. And he said, "Peace is not merely the absence of tension. True peace is not merely the absence of tension. It is the presence of justice." Thank you.